The late autumn afternoon in Edinburgh was filled with the scent of cold wind mixed with the scent of light rain. The ancient St. Giles Church was quieter than usual, as if holding its breath before the important moment. When the large wooden doors opened, sparkling light filtered through the stained glass windows, covering the space with a sacred beauty. Caitriona Balfe appeared in a pure white wedding dress, simple, pure, but full of charisma. All eyes were on her, and Sam Heughan, waiting at the end of the aisle, smiled softly, unable to hide his emotions. Their wedding was not widely announced, even to many in the industry. This event seemed unimaginable. Years of standing next to each other on screen, so many speculations, so many doubts, so many unanswered questions. But in the end, after all, they chose to quietly say their vows in the arms of those who truly mattered. No fanfare, no noise, just two peaceful hearts finding each other. To the quiet organ music, Sam took Caitriona's hand. "Even if the world changes around us," he said softly, "I still choose you, today and forever." Caitriona looked at him, her eyes shining with a fragile yet proud light. "No matter what happens," she replied, "I will hold your hand. Never let go." The two rings were slowly exchanged. The expectations and ambitions of a long journey seemed to converge in that moment. It was just them, and the promise engraved between heaven and earth. When the ceremony ended, the afternoon clouds lightened. The guests left the church to soft laughter and well wishes. But no one knew that behind those smiles, Sam and Caitriona were preparing for another trip, the honeymoon they had planned for months, a trip they both looked forward to as a reward for years of tireless effort. They were planning a trip to Iceland, where Sam had dreamed of taking the woman he loved to see the northern lights. Caitriona dreamed of a small cabin in a valley where they could leave all their work and stress behind and just live for a few peaceful weeks. But life, as usual, never worked out perfectly. 3 days after the wedding, as they finished a small meeting with the Outlander crew, Sam's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, thinking it was just a normal notification. But his face fell immediately. "Kate," he called to her in a strange voice. "What's going on?" she asked, sensing something was wrong. He handed her the phone. On it was a newspaper headline: "New virus variant breaks out. Countries prepare to close borders again." They were silent for a few seconds, as if a cold wind had suddenly blown through in the middle of summer. The news came in one after another. Flights were grounded, tourists were told to postpone their plans, and the places they planned to visit were becoming hotspots with severe warnings. Caitriona sat down on the chair, her hands clasped together. "Sam, what should we do?" He walked over to her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll be calm, but I think this trip has to be postponed." The words felt like a light knife to her heart, not out of anger, but out of disappointment. So much anticipation, so much hope, so many plans they'd written together over the long nights. All of them now stood on the brink of collapse. That evening, sitting in the quiet apartment with only the sound of the clock ticking, Sam sighed. "Canceling the trip is like throwing away a part of a dream, but I can't put you in danger." Caitriona looked at him, her eyes softening. "I understand. Nothing is more important than our safety. The honeymoon can wait." But that sympathy could not erase the regret. Sam took out a small box. "I prepared this gift for the first aurora we will see together." Inside the box was a simple necklace, a small blue stone face. He smiled sadly. "Consider it a promise postponed." Caitriona placed her hand on his cheek, softly saying, "The honeymoon is not where we go. It is who we are with." The words gave Sam a warm feeling. He pulled her into his arms, feeling her soft breath on his chest. Still, the worry lingered. The return of the pandemic would not only disrupt their plans, but also threaten their filming schedules, their work, and all their future plans. The Scottish border was under new restrictions. International flights were suspended. Days spent strolling along the Icelandic coast were replaced by long hours in the apartment. At first, they saw it as a chance to relax. They cooked, watched old episodes of Outlander, sipped wine, and talked for hours. but the seclusion of the outside world made the atmosphere heavier. Caitriona sometimes stood by the window, looking down at the empty street, her heart heavy. "How the world changes so quickly," she whispered. Sam put his hand on her back. "We've been through harder times. This too." But even he could hardly hide his fatigue. Sam was a person who loved to be active, loved freedom. Being tied down sometimes made him feel restless. Even at night, she heard him walk down to the living room quietly, like someone carrying a heavy heart that he didn't want anyone to know. One evening, when the wind picked up and the rain pounded against the porch roof, Caitriona found him sitting alone in front of the fireplace. "Can't sleep?" Sam didn't answer right away. "I feel like I'm letting you down. This honeymoon, it all fell apart because of you." Caitriona sat down next to him, holding his hand tightly. "No one can control the pandemic. It's not your fault. We're here, safe, together. That's what matters." He looked up at her, his eyes shining with deep gratitude. "Thank you for always understanding." After several gloomy days, Sam decided to do something to clear the air. He prepared himself secretly all morning. In the afternoon, when Caitriona walked out into the living room, she was surprised to find the whole atmosphere had changed. Candles were placed all over the room, the soft yellow light spreading. On the large screen in front of them was a breathtakingly beautiful, high-quality video of the aurora that Sam had purchased. In the corner, a small dining table was set with authentic Icelandic dishes that he had tried to make himself. "Welcome to a honeymoon at home." Sam smiled, like a boy trying to impress his lover. Caitriona laughed with emotion, almost in tears. "You're crazy, Sam Heughan." "Crazy, but for you," he replied. They ate dinner to soft music under a beautiful simulated aurora sky. Sam told her stories he had read about Iceland, about volcanoes, icy lakes, vast expanses of snow. She listened, absorbed in every word, as if the distance between them and that land had narrowed. At the end of the meal, Sam took out the necklace and put it on her. "Even if the pandemic stops us from traveling, it can't stop me from loving you." Caitriona gently placed her hand on his chest. "And it can't stop me from choosing you." A month passed. The world situation gradually stabilized, the strict control policies began to take effect. Film studios sent emails announcing that filming schedules would be adjusted, but not canceled, as many initially feared. Although travel was not possible immediately, the future was no longer so bleak. One early morning, when the first sunlight hit the balcony, Sam took Caitriona's hand and smiled. "I think we should reschedule our honeymoon." She tilted her head. "Right now?" "No, but we can continue writing that unfinished dream. And when the time is right, I will take you to the place with the bright sky that I once promised."